Few states are as important to the outcome of the 2020 election as Pennsylvania. President Trump was the first Republican since 1988 to win its 20 electoral votes 4 years ago. However, our CBS News Battleground Tracker estimates Democratic nominee Joe Biden has a 5-point lead in the Keystone State. Many models have suggested Pennsylvania could be the so-called tipping point that determines the election. The margins are expected to be razor thin, though, regardless of the winner. Election officials in Pennsylvania fear the victor could be determined by the fate of so-called naked ballots. These are ballots missing a second privacy envelope when returned by mail. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court is allowing the state to throw out any ballot without those envelopes. Democrats worry that as many as 100,000 votes could be rejected in a state Mr. Trump won by just 44,000 votes 4 years ago. For more, I want to bring in Zak Hudak in Pittsburgh. He's a CBS News campaign reporter covering Pennsylvania. Zak, welcome. Great to see you. So why are Pennsylvania Democrats so concerned about the impact these naked ballots could have on their ability to flip the state?
Tanya, sorry, I've got the phone ringing in the background here, but Democrats are concerned about this because everyone living in COVID times here. But Democrats are concerned about this, Tanya, because they're expected to vote in way higher percentages by mail. In the primary, it was basically a 2-to-1 ratio here. So Lisa Dealey, the top elections official in Philadelphia the other week, was warning this could lead to 100,000 ballots not being counted here. That's over twice the margin of victory in 2016. And we're talking about ballots that, are returned in time, that everything is done correctly, but basically there's a small technicality, this privacy envelope, which is just a totally blank envelope that you also have to put your ballot in. Just because of that, this, potential 100,000 plus ballots could not be counted. That will probably skew toward Joe Biden and Democrats.
And Zach, no worries about the phone call. You just missed my dog barking, so we're all in the same boat here at our home studios. But what do Pennsylvanians voting by mail then need to do to be sure they avoid this naked ballot problem and that their vote actually counts?
Well, on the naked ballot point, they need to make sure that they put their ballot in both envelopes, not just the mailing envelope, also in this blank privacy envelope, which the instructions describe that, but the instructions can sometimes be unclear, and there's a lot to do on there, and just there could be older folks. Tanya, you cannot question the fact that with the one sample size we have on this, the primary here, a lot of Pennsylvanians did it wrong. So you just need to be really careful. You need to put it in both of those envelopes. And the other point is, get it done early. That's what the State Department's been saying for months. That's what local elections officials are saying, because we've had some mail delays. There is now a small extension, but you want to apply as early as possible. And now a lot of counties are mailing ballots out. So apply, get your ballot, get it back in. That's the safest thing you can do.
So do you see this being a legal issue if it turns out that a lot of voters did not get this naked ballot situation right? There is a potential for appeal in the same sort of package of elections issues decisions that were laid out 2 weeks ago by the state Supreme Court. This was kind of a victory for Republicans. They dealt Democrats a big victory on allowing drop boxes and also extending the deadline 3 days for which they'll accept a mail-in ballot as long as it's not postmarked after it. That was a big victory for Democrats. The Republicans are now appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court, we know, as of just the other day. They've asked the U.S. Supreme Court to issue a stay stopping the state court's ruling. So, no, the naked ballots have not developed into a bigger fight yet, but other parallel issues have. So, I would not be surprised. And then has the Pennsylvania Supreme Court made any other rulings regarding voting in the 2020 election?
There is the extension that I mentioned, which victory for Democrats and, victory in general if the idea is counting as many votes as possible. People who are critics of that say that actually extends the election day, to make it a multi-day election day, which would be a violation of federal law. Other rulings are that there cannot be a major limitation, or a major detraction of polling places. You have to keep most of your polling places unless there are extenuating circumstances. And additionally, the very big thing for Republicans, a big loss, they cannot send out-of-county poll watchers to the polls, which the idea being what Democrats fear is they would send in swarms of people to question every ballot possible and just create chaos. They haven't said they would do that, but that was battled out. They, as of now, cannot send those out-of-county poll watchers. So, Tanya, it is just sort of a mess of battles continuing on that, really in less than 2 months here will have major impacts on how the election is administered and probably on the outcome of it, because it's such a, razor-tight margin state.
Absolutely. And have we received any updates, Zach, on that unusual Justice Department announcement about discarded ballots in that northeastern Pennsylvania county?
Tanya, in Luzerne County, which is really, if you want to point to one county as the most important shift in 2016, it would be Luzerne. There was about a 25,000 vote overall swing there. It's a county that is usually Democratic, swung just a bit toward over to Donald Trump. And what it is 9 ballots were discarded. 2 of them we don't know the contents. 7 of them we know were for the president. But the entire situation is a little bit weird. We got a very early announcement from it. We actually heard from the president an announcement would be coming. Then the Justice Department makes an announcement, says all of the votes are for the president. Later they retract that, say only some of them were. It's something that kind of puzzled elections experts and former Justice Department officials. One of them was saying you would never release the names of the candidates. So it got kind of rushed out and we didn't know a lot. But what we've learned in addition from the county manager is that it was a temporary employee who was sorting mail and things like that, who did whatever happened to the ballots, discarded them, put them in the dumpster, however they got where they got, and she was fired. Some other context on this, though, is that this is a really specific kind of mail-in ballot. And it's not even just the kind of typical military ballot you'd use. This is a ballot that is for people who are in really hard to reach places. So it's actually, you can actually submit it long before the ballot was certified. That wasn't until just a couple weeks ago. In fact, in August, they sent these out, and they would have been like a write-in ballot that you would send in a pretty standard envelope. So we don't know this yet, but it's important context that the envelope that these ballots would have been coming back in would look very similar to the envelope that a request for one of those ballots would come back in. So we'll see if that plays out and if that's how they got opened. That doesn't explain how they got discarded. But it's something that the president has been bringing up, and that at his rally in Middletown just the other day, I talked to a few dozen of his supporters about mail-in voting. Like almost every one of them brought it up. So it is kind of in the ether, but we really don't know enough. And it was a small number of votes. We don't know enough to know that it was any actual fraud or evidence of anything nefarious.
All right, Zak Hudak in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Thank you.